That would be justice. That would be justice as we know
Oh
it.
my God. Well, no, it would be good though.
It's a Freaky Friday already, folks, and we're looking for the sandwiches, but they danced first right here, then they danced there, then they danced right out of the room.
Well, you know what? You know
We're
what
waiting for them
happens
to
when
come back.
sandwiches dance, pal? I mean,
All bets are off.
depends on the deli that you get them from.
Ooh, I just had a flashback.
What did you flash back to?
Oh, we used to have a West Side
Depends
Deli
on the
at a
deli
Broadway
that
and
you get 'em
74th Street that would deliver, and they had a turkey every day behind the counter, a real turkey that they had cooked themselves. That's how they made their turkey sandwiches.
from. Oh,
And I got turkey and salami, turkey and pastrami on rye, and they would deliver that thing, and it would be like I couldn't wait. It was Christmas morning. When's the sandwich going to get here? When's that sandwich going to get here, man? And a New York deli can do that to a person.
yeah, it's sad because those types of delis are kind of going by the wayside because now it's well, first of all, you got a million street trucks
Right.
in New York dealing food. So, the deli thing. And then on top of it, you have, the older Italian, Jewish, Germans who basically were the deli people,
The deli guys,
the
yeah.
deli guys and women, but mostly guys really, have kind of most of them have died off.
Yeah.
You still have Katz's, and you still have the Second Avenue Deli, and there's obviously a bunch of there's the places in Little Italy, but that little neighborhood Italian place, that little neighborhood place, the place where you get the German potato salad
I was just gonna say that.
with the glass,
They probably carried two
and
types of potato salad.
yeah,
What
give
kind
me
of
a
potatoes?
quarter pound of that,
Yeah.
and
Fantastic.
yeah, and you just I mean, listen, that roast turkey sandwich with German potato salad. I mean, that was a lunch, man. I mean,
More
you
than you
want
could
to
eat.
sleep an hour after that.
Oh yeah, it's Betty Bye.
And
Betty
it's
Bye.
funny we were talking about. I was talking to my brother Dominic yesterday. By the way, we are Mikey and Vinny. He's Michael Knight, and he's in Los Angeles, California.
He's New York Vinny. He's in Seattle, Washington. We do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's a fractious Freaky Friday. Here we are, 10
And
after
here we are
10.
talking about food. So I was talking to my brother yesterday, who lives in New York. He drives all around. We were talking about if you drive around, you know where all the best places are. You know
You
where
can
to get
see.
the best, roast beef sandwich. There's a place that's been on Avenue U and Nostrand in Brooklyn,
Holy moly.
Brennan and Carr. It's a roast beef place, and they make the absolute best roast beef sandwich
How do
you
they do
ever
it?
have in your life. I will bet you any amount of money, anything I own, that we could go to Brennan and Carr this afternoon and get a roast beef sandwich. And it's a place where you go, and it's an A-frame building with a counter,
Oh
you know.
my.
And they've been dealing roast beef since the 1930s. And the kids have taken it over. The kids have taken it over, and they own the property, so they're not going to go out of business. And it's just off the charts. There's another place we were talking about in Staten Island, Italian Deli, where they make a shrimp parmesan sandwich.
Wow.
And the shrimp parmesan, I mean, it's the same. You get the same amount of shrimp every time. You get the right amount of cheese every time. The right amount of sauce every time. The shrimp are, the tails are off of them.
You mean you don't have to open your sandwich and go, hey, what happened here?
Right. And when you drive around the city, like when I used to drive around the city in New Jersey, you got to know all these places,
Sure.
and that's why because you know where to go to this place, you know the right hot dog guys to go to. That's when my father sold hot dogs. He was off the beaten path, but his onions that he made and his chili sauce that he made to put on top of the hot dogs was so freaking good
Made
that
all the difference.
from across the island
Yeah.
to get it, to get Joe's chili sauce.
And you know how New Yorkers like the inside story. Ah, don't buy that one. Come with me. Come with me. I got a place you have to know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you always want to be able to take your. I mean, the ultimate thing, I think, okay, for me, I don't know about everybody else, but I've seen this with my friends, is to be able to take somebody comes and visits you in New York, and you want to take them to have something that they never had before. You
Ah,
know, something that you can go like. Lorraine and I went to New York one time, and I took her to Laguli, which is an Italian pastry shop in Astoria.
oh dear.
And when you went inside, there in the glass cases are laid out cannoli, sfogliatelle, the rum. I forget what they call them. The
Bars.
rum cakes. I mean, just all laid out, and it looks like it's a painting. It doesn't
Yeah.
even look like it's real. It looks like,
Yes.
and I mean, Lorraine just flipped out. She never saw anything like that. Never mind have a sfogliatelle for breakfast, which is a best way to describe it, I guess, is an Italian cheese-filled croissant.
Oh dear. You just had to fill it with something, didn't you?
Yeah, but instead, it's filled with ricotta cheese, and it's filled. Many places make it filled with candied fruit as
Ooh.
well.
I thought you were going to say cream, like clotted
No,
cream.
no, 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 no. Candy, no. Sweetened ricotta cheese, candied fruit, and instead of like a croissant where it wraps this way, they wrap several strands around the filling this way,
Because you got to hold that stuff inside.
and then you top it with the powdered sugar, confectioner sugar.
Ah.
And I mean, she had that, and she was like, "My God!" And then she had the cannoli, and she said, "I never, I've had cannoli in my life, but I've never, I mean, nothing like this." And
And is that place still there?
yeah, yeah, they're still going strong. They're right next to the James Hoey Funeral Home.
One damn thing after another.
But yeah, if you're ever in New York, or if we ever get back to New York together, I'll take you to Laguli. Now everybody will say we'll go to Ferraris, but Ferraris is overpriced and it's a tourist spot and it's a trap. It's a tourist trap. I mean, the stuff is
Right.
okay. Oh, what was the other thing? The Italian colored cookies. There's they have these cookies that they make. It's like I think it's four colors. It's like red, green. It's
Like,
yellow in the middle, but it's really supposed to be white,
is
and
that
then
Neapolitan?
another color under it. And then these Italian cookies that they made for I guess the story behind them is they made it for the King of Italy back in the late 1800s.
But that account didn't last forever, did it?
But they are oh yeah, really. Uh, they are they're fantastic. They're the best cookie. Well, the second best. I don't know. I can't keep going back and forth.
Are
Also,
they soft or are they hard?
they're soft. It's
Ah,
covered in
all
chocolate.
right. I'm ready. I'm in line right behind you.
It has like a raspberry type filling in the middle of the layers, four layers, and then it's covered in chocolate. And they call them like tricolore. Sometimes they
Yeah.
call them, and the only and I keep going back and forth sometimes on these cookies because the only cookie that I have that I love better than those is the pinoli cookies, where they make it's a little dab cookie, and they make it with almond and anisette,
And
and
it's
then
that.
on the top they put cannoli nuts, pinoli nuts,
Hmm.
and I mean they're expensive. They're like $20 a pound.
They have another name. I wish I could remember the name of the other name of that nut. Oh, damn. Doesn't matter. Go ahead.
The pinoli nut.
Yeah. It's got
Uh,
another
uh,
name. It doesn't matter.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, just I mean,
It's what Presbyterians call it.
yeah, yeah. See, that's the funny thing about it, Mikey, is you almost get filled talking about the food.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta need to eat lunch now. I'm okay, man. Had a shrimp parm, a Brennan and Carr, a tricolor cookie, and a couple of
And on the this all started because Vinny's got the dancing sandwiches up for a Freaky Friday, and it started with a deli flashback I had to Broadway and 74th, where we used to get fresh turkey and pastrami sandwiches on rye delivered.
Yeah, I
Oh,
didn't even go into the Jewish stuff. I mean, I didn't, the German stuff. I mean, it's like,
all the
or,
variations.
yeah, or in later years, when the Colombians came and the Cubans came, I mean, it was like some unbelievable Cuban food. Matter of fact, if you go back to my old neighborhood now, Jackson Heights, where I grew up, what used to be the candy store, the hair salon, the flower shop, the barber shop, uh, the drugstore on Northern Boulevard are all restaurants from all different countries.
Let's eat.
It's like you can go on one block, you can find Peruvian, you can find Argentinian, you can find Mexican, you can find any kind of South American or East Asian food that you can think of. And when I've gone back, I've gone to them, and I got to tell you, I never had a bad one. From the empanadas to the Brazilian steak, there's just not a bad one in the bunch, man. I mean,
Probably run by families who know how to do it.
yeah, yeah. Brazil. I mean, and the funny thing is, what restaurant closed in that strip? The White Castle.
There's something fishy there. That's not right. That ain't right. Because you would go to you'd have a great meal at the Mexican place, and on the way home, you still have to stop at White Castle.
Well, see that's what happened, Mikey. I think with the White Castle is these places. The Spanish culture is very different than ours, in that they go out late at night. They
Yeah.
go out of the house. They go out 8, 9 o'clock at night, and they stay out till 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. So these places, these restaurants, stay open late. So now, if you're just, little old Vinnie Richichi driving down Northern Boulevard wanting to get something to eat, your option isn't only just the diner or
Right.
White Castle anymore.
It's everything under the sun.
Now your option, you can go get a bag of empanadas to take home with, just wonderful chicken or seasoned meat in the middle. Get two of those, and you got a meal. You can go and get a beautiful Argentinian skirt steak.
Mm.
And just have it, and now with delivery on top of it, because all these
Yeah,
places, the delivery drivers are buzzing around there like crazy.
they
You
should
don't
be.
have to, I mean, it really, you could see why White Castle, kind of dropped down in popularity.
Well, they had an opportunity to up their game. They could have modernized in a way for the neighborhood, but that's not the White Castle thing.
Yeah, no, White Castle's going to stay White Castle. I
Yeah.
mean, and there's still neighborhoods where they do very well. If you go over to Elmhurst, they do well. It's just that now, if you want a White Castle, you got to go all the way up to
You
Queens
got to go.
Boulevard to get one, or out to Bayside. You can't get it in Jackson Heights anymore. And that sucks. But that's America.
Well, yeah, you just got to assume that your choices for food have improved, even though it's sad to see White Castle go.
Yeah, like chock full of nuts. I mean, great coffee, great place to go. That little cream cheese and nut bread sandwich that they used to serve with the cup of coffee.
And at their
Right now, the
location
donut.
at that location in Times Square, they meant it. Come on in, it's chock full of nuts in here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but now you got Starbucks, and they
Yeah,
charge you. You could buy your whole week of chock full of nuts. Is one coffee in Starbucks.
and the only nut is the barista who's going crazy back there.
Chock full of nuts is the heavenly coffee, heavenly coffee, heavenly coffee.
So they got to the heavenly coffee part and they just kept repeating it.
Chock full of nuts is the heavenly coffee. Better coffee a millionaire's money can't buy.
Whoa.
There
Come
you
on
go.
in. We got coffee. In fact, you can't buy it. That's what we want you to know.
Yeah, well, you can come in, you can sit down, but
You can't buy it.
if you're a millionaire, you don't want whatever bar.
We
Go
don't
to
want to.
Smarties.
Yeah.
Go to Toots Shores.
We got no reason to no. You better
You got
leave.
nothing here. Go find Dorothy Kilgallen.
Yeah, it'd be fun to take Dorothy Kilgallen to Times Square, wouldn't it?
If I could have a date with almost anybody in the world, with anybody in the world, I would love to go out on a date with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Never without a word to say. Never. Speaking of words to say, a very interesting thing happened in baseball yesterday to teams that we know. Los Angeles Angels went to play in Oakland, and the Angels hit 7 solo home runs and lost the game 8-7 to the A's.
Wow.
And Shohei Ohtani hit 2 of them himself. But this is the first time in a long time that many home runs have been hit by a team and they lost the game. And it's also shows you the curse of a team with power, but they can only hit one-run home runs. If they had hit 2 or 3, if they'd driven in some runs, they could have won that game or at least tied it.
Well, the Angels seem to me to have a somewhat unbalanced lineup. They don't seem to have a lot of guys that put the ball, they're either swinging for the fences or they're striking out. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would love to see how, where they sit on the strikeouts. I mean, they just seem to me, and they'll be here this weekend. They start a series with the Mariners tonight.
You're getting them at a good time because they're weak and Trout is still hurt. And Otani's hitting the ball, but he's had trouble with his arm because the way he throws so damn hard, he just refuses to play ball, as they say.
Yeah.
He's only got one speed. And the Angels have had turmoil in the front office. They fired their manager. They got a guy who's filling in who's got tons of responsibility because the team's going through all sorts of change. They just made a bunch of trades. They sent Syndergaard to uh,
Philly, I think, right?
Philadelphia, correct,
Yeah.
and a couple other guys as well. It's not a team that's in a restful state. Now the trouble with them is that whatever they do, they can't win. It's the same problem my team has, but my team just says, "Look, we'll get you 3 runs, but if you need 6 runs to beat these guys, there's no way in hell. We don't know how to score anymore. We don't know how. We don't know how to put together a bang bang any. We just don't do it. So don't ask us of this team. We're going to lose 5-3 every game. If you score 5 runs, you'll beat us."
Well, it's funny because that's kind of what the Mariners' problem has been in the first half of the season. Is that they have great pitching and now even better pitching,
Yep.
but they leave a lot of runners in scoring position, and they get hits, but they don't, and that's why a lot of people when Jerry DePoto went out, the general manager went out and got pitching, they were saying, well, we still, it's the eternal cry of the Mariners. We need a bat.
Yep.
Now, the good thing is that some of the bats that they actually went out and got over the winter are starting to heat up. Jesse Winker, a guy that came over from the Reds as well, um, in a trade, is starting to hit the ball, and they're still without a couple of their key players, hitters. So if they can get those guys healthy and back again, I mean, they beat the Yankees 2 out of 3 without one Rodriguez. He's
That's an achievement. That is something to hang your hat on.
yeah, and the road trip that looked like it was going to be a disaster turned out to be a 3-4 road trip against the two best teams in the American League, the Astros and the Yankees.
Well, I want to thank you for J.D. Davis. He came over from the Mets to the Giants. He hit a home run yesterday, and that's how we got to the position to lose the game 5-3. And so, thank you all dearly. Thank you
Uh,
sincerely.
I listen, Mikey. We try to help you. We try to help, man.
You gave us a run we wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, and may it portend better things to come.
Well, if you're 21 and a half out of first place, what's the worst that can happen to you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the
Tell me
reality
about the bad stuff now.
there's
I
just not
have to
much.
look away.
Yeah, there's just not much that can happen to you, right? I mean,
We could have a Johnny Lamaster bobblehead night. That would be something we definitely need. And the bobblehead says "boo" on the back.
oh man, it's I boy,
Anthony Hammaker, you got a little bobblehead Atlee Hammaker toy, and you just set it on the windshield and it goes up in flames.
At the All Star game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every midnight at the All-Star game as the moon comes through the window, the Atlee Hammaker
He's never
bobblehead dog
right
goes up.
after that game, man.
No,
What was that?
never, ever, ever,
84
ever
or
even.
86? 84 All Star game.
He was a star, and then he became a joke.
He was a stud, man, and he gave up. I forget how many runs he gave up, but he got rocked.
He got torn
And
apart in the All-Star game and never ever pitched well again.
never pitched well again. It's really, it's one of the sad things, and it happens in baseball
It can
because
happen.
we tend to forget how much of a mental game you need besides your pitching. I mean, you can throw a ball 100 miles an hour. You can, as Ralph Kiner used to say, you can throw a lamb chop through a wolf's jaws. But if you can't put the lamb chop where it's supposed to go, you got
Yeah,
nothing.
I'm throwing it through the wolf's jaws. Yeah, but those are balls blown away.
Or was
Okay.
that Lindsey Nelson? No, it was Ralph Kiner, I think.
Yeah, Lindsay was not that colorful.
No, no, Lindsey. What was Lindsey? Lindsey said, "Oh no, I can't. Now I forget who used to say this one also that he could throw a baseball through a car wash and not get it wet." It's always one of my favorites. Anyway, I was fortunate enough in when I was in Pittsburgh to get to know and do shows with Steve Blass.
Oh, great.
And he's just a golden guy, man. I mean, just an absolute golden guy.
He remembers everything.
He remembers everything. He's written a great book about it, and he's really what he's done. And for people who may not be familiar with Steve Blass, he was a star for the Pirates.
Yes.
He was one of the I think he might have been the number one starter back in the '60s, in the early '70s, and I think it was '71 or '72. He went out there. Was it after the '72 World Series? I guess. He came back the next year. He couldn't throw the ball. He couldn't locate the ball. He couldn't. It just every skill he had left.
Did it ever come back?
And they sent them to psychiatrists. They sent them to all sorts of different doctors. What's going on? He just couldn't throw the ball anymore.
What did they think? What was the diagnosis?
He lost something in his mind that gave him the competitive edge.
Wow.
He explained it that to this day they don't know exactly what it was, but as best they can figure, he lost that thing that makes you stare into the batter, I should say,
Yep.
stare down the batter and not fear throwing the ball to him. That he now had a fear of throwing the ball.
Getting touched up.
And either getting touched up or getting hit with the ball. Now I forget, I don't know if I even ever asked him this question, but I should have, and now I feel like I want to get on the phone and call him and ask him if the death of Roberto Clemente ever had anything to do with it.
Oh, same year?
I think it was the same. I think it was the season after that, and I
Did Blast talk to you about this on the air? Or
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I
good for
mean,
him.
he's very open about it. I mean, he is, and as I say, just a wonderful, just down to earth guy. Still lives in Mount Lebanon. Um, he retired. He was broadcasting the games for years, and he retired. I think 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that.
Was he
And
popular on the air?
oh, yeah, he and Bob Walk are the color analysts for the Pirates.
Long time.
And John Wayner, and all three of them are just immensely. They're from three different eras of the Pirates, and they're immensely popular play-by-play guys. And Walk and Blash and Wayner, just a very. I mean, they know the game. Obviously, they're very observant. They're not afraid to call it. Pittsburgh is a town that's not afraid to call it like it is. Blass is a little more diplomatic than the other two, but the other two will put it out there, man. I mean, they'll say, "Hey, listen, this guy, you know, sucks." I mean, you can only say it so many times because everybody knows it because it's the Pirates. And if you're good, you're gone.
Yeah, we'll find a place for you to play in the majors if you want to, or you can stay here.
Yeah, but it's but you know what was cool, Michael, is when I was there, the Pirates for a couple of years turned it around. They got to the playoff. They started winning games. They got to the playoffs. You had some playoff games in PNC Park,
And
and
then and then what happened? They couldn't sustain it.
they started trading players away. The same old story. Um, they just instead of keeping guys around, giving them great long term contracts, they traded Garrett Cole to Houston. They traded I think
They traded McCutcheon, and McCutcheon's had a career almost as long as the time he spent with the Pirates on hitting home runs for other teams.
yeah, oh yeah. McCutcheon was their star, and they traded him. They just didn't want to. They just didn't want to pay guys. And their business model seems to be we'll pay you we'll keep you around for a while, but then we'll let you go. I mean, look at some of their players that are around the league. Charlie Morton, maybe one of the most intelligent guys I've ever spoken to in a baseball uniform. How many World Series has he been in? They didn't think he could pitch, so they didn't sign him. They didn't re-sign him. Got to let him go. Josh Bell, who was just included for the deal with Juan Soto, they drafted him, paid him a ton of money. He came up, he hit some bombs for the Pirates, but then they eventually traded him because they didn't want to pay the big contracts.
Isn't it about time we had a new ownership combination there in Pittsburgh?
Guy's not going to sell the team. I mean, that's the sad part of it. You got a guy there in Bob Nutting, who is an entertainment impresario, shall we say?
A producer of events.
Yes, and he produces he's a newspaper guy, and he produces 81 events a year at PNC Park. And he knows that if he does giveaways and free food and fireworks and all that other stuff, that people are going to come. They turn with the revenues that they get from TV and merchandising and everything else,
Right.
um, make him a lot of money. And he says, well, I own this business. Now, he'll never say this, but I own this business. I run it the way I want to run it, and this is what I do.
That's when the commissioner of baseball should say, here's something you should know. And I love the dancing sandwiches. We love the sandwiches that dance, but this is not about sandwiches. This is about baseball. You should
Right,
get serious about it. You
right.
should get serious about it tomorrow.
They have dancing pierogies in PNC Park.
With just the little French fries flying out in the first row, kicking high, those sandwiches dancing and prancing.
Instead of the hydro races, they have three pierogies that run across the field.
Hey, the concept
Have to
sells in
guess
that
which one is
town.
going to
Yeah.
win.
They should have that they could do it in an animated form. The race of the pierogi sandwiches around the park every day.
And you know what? If I mean, I think that Bob Nutting, who's the owner of that team, would make money if nobody showed up. As a matter of fact, it'd be better for him because you wouldn't have to hire a staff, wouldn't have to buy food, wouldn't have to, wouldn't have to stock the house. But as far as winning, I'm convinced, and I was not in this court. I thought that when I got there, I was like, this guy, he wants to win. He's gonna lay out some money, but he's never laid out the money. He's just put it in his pocket.
And see,
And,
that doesn't work in the NFL. The Steelers fans are right there, cheek by jowl with the Pirates fans. The Pirates fans are passive and take anything that the guy offers. And the
well,
Steelers fans are not in that mood at all, even though they know they have quarterback problems.
I wouldn't say that. I think the Steelers have been much more crafty at making. Steelers traditionally did not spend for a lot of free agents. They signed their guys, but they didn't go out and get a lot of free agents. They drafted people, they brought them in. They picked out Mike Tomlin, and the GM that was there that just retired had a great ability to pick awesome talent. And I mean, they picked up Ben Roethlisberger out of Miami of Ohio. I mean, they had, Troy Polamalu, all these different guys that are Hall of Famers. I mean, I think there's more Steeler Hall of Famers over the last few years than anybody, I think. I
They
mean,
were they were famous. Didn't If you didn't even know the guy's names, you knew that if it was a Steeler linebacker, he was an all-star.
right, exactly. Be a Pro Bowler. And but the Pirates model was different. They tried a combination of signing low dollar free agents, trading with teams to get, to stock the club, and bringing kids up. And every once in a while they hit a gem. Every once in a while they drafted a gem. But, the best you were going to hope for with the Pirates, well, was a winning season. And
Yeah.
then when they got a good core, they didn't keep them. They didn't keep them around. Um, they had him for a couple of years. I mean, 2000, what was it, 2012, 2011, 12, 13. They went to the playoffs. I don't know if it was every year, but I mean, 14 probably in there. Well, they went out and spent the money on a manager, Clint Hurdle, but you have to sustain that. They put money in the farm system, but it seems like they grow them to trade them.
Yeah. I've heard enough. That kind of baseball does not appeal to me. It reminds me of Charlie Finley, and it reminds me of what it feels like to have the heart taken out of your team, surgically, purposefully
Yeah,
removed, so that you think this is about baseball. It's not even about baseball. You think it's about being competitive. It's not even that. We're just making money at this level, at this rate, doing what we're doing right now. And if we pay these guys more, it comes out of my end. I'm not doing it.
yeah, yeah. And that's why I was shocked to find in the last basic agreement between the clubs and the leagues that they didn't put a salary floor in, because that's what baseball needs. Baseball doesn't need a salary cap. They need a salary floor. They need to say, if you want to play this game, your payroll has to be this number.
Right. And it changes every season.
Right. You have to have a certain amount of players on your team that are quality players, and you have to pay them. You can't just grow them and trade them. Because you tell me how a team like the Padres goes out and just does what they did.
They had to spend some money in the last 5 years. They've spent a ton.
Yeah. And
Now,
so,
what I'm worried about is the results, because we've seen the Dodgers spend money, we've seen the Yankees spend money, and it works out for them in an up and down fashion. But the Yankees right now are trading guys that they brought in. They traded the big hitter, traded him to Los Angeles because he wasn't hitting for them. He was the
yeah.
strikeout king. I want to call him Soto, but that's wrong. It's
What, from Cincinnati or from
yes,
Washington?
yes. from since he went Cincinnati, New York, and now L.A.
Um, why am I blanking on his name?
The big first baseman. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
We'll move on. But the fact is, those teams take serious financial risks and make financial commitments every year based on bettering the team. And it doesn't always work. You can't buy it. You can buy the player, but you can't always buy the results. So I'm very curious about what's going to happen with San Diego because I don't like that team. Something about that team that drives me crazy. And we'll see with the Dodgers. They just have to hold on for dear life. Just don't get no because Kershaw's down again, so they're going to have to bring up a kid to join the starting ranks. And that's just the type of challenge that starts to unravel the well-crafted bullpen, the well-crafted starting rotation. You add an injury by a major player, somebody sprains his ankle out there and is out for 2 weeks when you really need him. All these things start to add up in the end of the season when people get hurt and weary of playing baseball.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's listen. It's not. I'm not saying it's an easy game, and I'm not saying that if I owned a team. Well, see, I'm a competitor. I want to compete. So
Yes.
and that's the problem that many of these teams, smaller market teams, have, because I don't buy the whole smaller market, bigger market thing anymore. I think the Mets can probably spend more money than the Kansas City Royals, but if the Kansas City Royals have good scouting, and the Kansas City Royals have good personnel, and they still have enough money to sign the guys that they draft.
Right.
It still comes down to who you draft, who you scout,
And
right?
all these guys have the same scouting reports. They may tell them different stories, but the fact is, when it's time to sign Vinnie Riccici, and the Mets have got this much money, and Kansas City is thinking about it, they both got the same results to sign Vinny. Well, who's going to sign him? Well, the Mets sign him because they have the dough, and Kansas City says, we really wanted him.
Yeah, we didn't want to give him that bonus. We didn't want to give him another million or another 500,000 because we might have to do that down the road. Although they don't all get the same scouting reports. I found this out. I never knew this until, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, whatever it is now. But when I was palling out with Alex Rodriguez way back when he was here, he explained something to me that was really interesting. Scott Boras has his own scouting bureau.
Oh,
So he has ex players that work for him that go to ball games. And as part of the Boris package, if you're represented by Boris, you get not just your team scouting report, but you get the Boris scouting report. And
for your
Alex,
eyes, yeah,
it
for
was
your eyes only, yeah,
almost all the time better than the scouts from the team
because the
because he
team.
had, I guess, um, well, first of all, he probably paid more. Second of all, he had younger players that were scouting, guys that were more recently in touch with the game. It wasn't a good old boys club.
And the Mariners had a tenuous relationship with A-Rod from the very beginning. They didn't want to sign his $1 million bonus, and
Oh yeah.
they were at financial odds all the way through it. And the Mariners had to be in a position to say, "Yeah, he's okay.
Well,
We think he can play a limited time and in a limited role, and could be an infielder, outfielder. We don't know. We haven't made up our mind, but he hasn't been hurt. That's good, huh?"
well, the Mariners, yeah. I mean, I remember that we went through that whole thing with Susie Dunand. Remember
Yeah,
his sister, right? And
from
she was
Miami.
at that time as his agent, and she, I think with Boros too, but she was kind of doing his stuff, and she knew what she wanted, man. She
Let's
was
keep the
not
numbers very simple: 1 million, 1 million, one
1 million. That's what
million.
you got to pay for. He's going to be a superstar, which she was right. Um, and listen, to be fair, the Mariners were never going to re-sign Alex Rodriguez. That he long before he became a free agent, he had visions of getting out of Seattle.
Oh yeah.
He wanted to go to New York. He
Well,
actually was set to go to the Mets.
really?
Oh yeah, yeah. Back in 2000, when he became a free agent, I was in New York with him at the World Series where the Mets played the Yankees, and we were hanging out. And he was telling me, he says, "Yeah, the deal is set." He says, I'm gonna be here, and this is the Mets are gonna sign me, and I'm gonna come to New York and be a Met." And it was great. And then a couple of weeks after that, when free agency started, I don't know if you remember, the Steve Phillips, who at the time was the general manager of the Mets, leaked out to the New York media, and you know what's coming, that Alex's demands were he wanted his own office next to the clubhouse. He wanted to his merchandising rights. I mean, it was like a whole list of demands.
Right.
He wanted his own. Usually the room next to the clubhouse is where the barber sits and does everybody's haircuts. But Alex wanted to make that his office. That was his. That was and from what I understand,
That league finished it, huh?
it just like that was it, man. No, we're not doing business with you. I know I can get money anywhere. And then, of course, Tom Hicks, the owner of the Rangers at the time, came up with a ridiculous number of what was it, $350 million for 10 years or something like that.
Yeah, it was a
But
huge
now it's a
contract.
fart in the breeze.
A Texas breeze, a Texas fart in a Texas breeze.
But at that time, it was the biggest contract ever written, and that's what Alex wanted. So the Mets could have given him that, and he wouldn't have gone there because he got pissed off at Steve Phillips. That's
Steve Phillips, yeah, Steve Phillips probably did that to other players too. I wouldn't doubt.
Yeah, that's how I understand the story went. That's how I understand it. That, and then of course eventually he made his way to the Yankees and steroids and everything else. All the other stuff that went on. And then he went his way to J Lo, and then she got rid of she and then
They didn't
she
have any. They didn't have any ugly children, did they?
no because I think she was
She was stooping somebody else.
well she just married did she just marry Ben Affleck?
Second time, third time, I can't quite figure it out. And they don't have any ugly children either, do they?
I don't know. It's like Liz Taylor and Richard Burton.
Yeah. Are you guys married? Nah, never
Not
mind.
this week, but come back next week. It could be different.
It could be. We're looking ahead. We're planning the
Was it?
occasion.
Yeah. Was it? No, it wasn't Eddie Fisher. Eddie Fisher.
Eddie Fisher was married to her while she
He was
was
married
doing.
to her, but wasn't Burton married to her before Eddie Fisher and then after Eddie Fisher? Is that how it worked?
Ooh, no. Eddie Fisher married Liz Taylor after her husband Mike Todd died in an aircraft carrier. He was her shoulder to cry on.
Right.
And she cried on his shoulder, and then they got more intimate. And that lasted 2 weeks. And then bingo, Richard Burton. After all, he played in Cleopatra,
Yeah.
uh,
It's the swinging '60s, baby.
where Roman men wore leather tunics and skirts. It was a good time. It was a good time to be in the costume.
Yeah, it was a very good time to be in a costume. Um,
Yeah, what do you got for your show tomorrow?
well, shall we switch gears and talk a little bit about what we're going to talk? What else were we going to talk about? There was something that
Max Jones or
uh, uh, um,
Alex Jones? I
Alex
mean,
Jones. He should change his name to Max Jones. Yes, I did want to get that in before we got out of here. I don't think the punishment was enough,
well, we're not done.
and I hope that they. I. What kind of country are we where a sizable amount of people listen to this guy and believe this guy?
And by looking at him in the eye, Vinny, while he talks, you say, he's not right. There's something wrong with this guy. I
I
can't
never
say
thought
it.
I'd say this, but he makes Rush Limbaugh look like a believable commodity.
Like a gentleman,
Yeah.
which he ain't, which he was not.
No, I mean the most disgusting thing I ever seen. Well, not the
And
most.
his apology that was on the air on his own InfoWars site saying, I did these things, I did these horrible things, and I said them, but I didn't mean to, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
All the stuff that I did, I didn't mean to do. All the wrong part of it, I'm guilty of, and I'm sorry about. And as for the future, well, who knows what I'm going to say, but it's probably going to be the truth this next time. And if it's not, and if I tell more lies and I start more conspiracies, remember that I didn't mean it.
And what happened is not just that Alex Jones went on the air and said this stuff, because if he did that and that was all that happened, you go, all right, he's doing a show, he's dancing, he's doing an act. But the people that listened to this clown
Yeah.
started threatening, making harassing, and doing
Because
other stuff.
he provided the addresses and the phone numbers and the
Right,
emails.
to the people who lost their children in Connecticut at Sandy Hook. What kind of absolute scumbag gets off, makes money, feels good about inflicting that kind of pain on people who have gone through that loss?
Well, there's no way for us to know what the original loss of losing your child was like, followed by the hatred and the extraordinary virulent threats that were made against them, because Alex Jones made sure those threats were made. We can't ever figure that out. So we have to say there's a dollar value here. So we're going to make you pay 4.1 million for damages, but now it's time for compensatory damage. You must be compensated for the pain and the suffering you went through. So now we're talking some serious money. If this guy did make $800,000 a day on a good day, I hope he saved his dough, because he's been withdrawing it surreptitiously, and so is the parent company, trying to hide their money. And the judge said yesterday, it's interesting that we should understand in this room that you can declare bankruptcy, but it doesn't mean you're bankrupt.
Right. Well, here's my question, because besides the podcast that he does, which is the number one podcast in the nation, he's on how many radio stations?
I don't know.
A lot.
I'm sure.
A lot. How in the world, if you are a general manager of a broadcast group or a program director,
You are complicit.
how in the world do you freaking look at yourself in the mirror and say, this guy is on, he should be on the air?
This is
Does
why I
the
got into the
money,
business. Yeah.
does the money mean that much? Is that what capitalism is, Michael? Is that what free enterprise is? That you can hurt people for
For
money
profit. And keep doing it.
and keep doing it consistently and feel good about it. And go home and feel good about it, Michael.
Yeah. The idea that, and he's selling tinctures and extracts and vitamins and super supplements hand over fist, and God knows what he's putting in that. Where does he get this product? Would you trust this man to make you a sandwich?
We have become a country of snake oil salesmen, Michael.
And zealots.
It's like it must have been in the Wild West when the guys used to travel around in those wagons and sell the snake oil and the other stuff to people.
You mean the professor?
Right. And they would come and they would, drink it up, and all it was alcohol. And they got a whole nation pretty much hooked on alcohol
And
because
laudanum.
people were stupid. And that was the idea of coming up with an education system, wasn't it? So that you would be smarter and not fall for that kind of stuff.
Well, a sucker is born every minute in this country, and never give a sucker an even break. Those are the two rules of show business and business, and they both apply to this one. Alex Jones, by the way, the CNN did a life story of him trying to explain where all this insanity came from. And I thought the most telling thing were from his high school buddies, who said, when Alex was a kid, he would go to a very dark place. And it was frightening to see it. Now, who do you remember from high school that would go into a state of mind that was actually cause fear among his friends just by witnessing it?
We had one guy that was like that eventually stole a train out of the Flushing Yards right by Shea Stadium. He snuck into this Flushing Yards. He got in. He was into trains, and he was this really dark. Raymond was his name, and he was really dark and really strange and really bizarre. And he hung out with us, but you didn't really want to hang out with him. But he tagged along. And
Yeah,
one day, he stopped hanging out with us, and we were all happy. And I don't know, a year later, we saw in the paper that he had been arrested for stealing a subway train.
like you
And,
do.
and he got out, and I think it was a year later he stole a bus.
Oh boy.
So he probably wound up working for the transit authority.
He got the Ralph Cramden Driver of the Year award.
But yeah, but he might have been. There was another guy we had that was dark like that too. This other guy, I won't say his name because it doesn't matter. But this guy, you always knew there was something, and he hung out with. He seemed normal a lot of times,
Yeah.
but you knew there was. And I'd gone to grammar school with him, and then he kind of got lost after grammar school, and then like in high school, he kind of came and hung out with us, and he was, if you knew him and hung with him, he was a good guy. But there was always that one eye going this way,
Yeah.
one eye going that way kind of thing. And um, one summer Sunday afternoon, we're around the corner, we're hanging out in the corner, I don't know, about 16, 17. And we wound up going it's a hot day. It's like August, probably around this time. It's a hot day, and we get in the car, and I guy had a car, and one came by the corner, picked up about 5, 6, 7, 8 people, as many as we could cram in, and drove to Rockaway Beach. Well, we come back from Rockaway Beach to the corner, and there's cop cars all over the place. There's police, tape and everything like that. And it's like, what the hell happened? And this guy, the crazy guy, the guy that didn't go with us to the beach, the guy that you know, uh, I don't know I don't know what actually precipitated it. The story always went that this kid was walking, coming back from a softball game with a baseball bat, and he ran into this guy, and for some reason they got into a bit of a not a, just kind of a word thing, which happens all the time, asshole. And the guy hit him on the back, or pushed him on the back out of the way, and this guy lost it, and he took the bat from him, and he beat his brains in.
Ooh.
And I'll never forget that pieces of this kid's brain were laying on the street, man.
Oh yes.
They had taken him to the hospital. Obviously, he was dead. And but you knew just by hanging with this guy, some of
Potential.
the crazy things he did, the no fear, there was something in him that it's like he didn't have morals.
Yeah.
He didn't have for many people. Now, again, as I said, if you knew him, I mean, I went over his house when I was in grammar school and played with him. He used to live
Well,
on
same thing.
73rd Street.
There were kids in Alex Jones's life all the way through, just like that. Kids that were hanging with him in high school, who observed this in high school, who knew even as young kids, uh, Alex is different. He's not quite right. Now, imagine dealing with him all these years as a so-called quasi businessman who's making all this money and raking in all this commercial geld and selling these products and telling people stories they want to hear and going to the different corporations and creating the wheel where you spin it, and he'll have a story to tell about any topic that you can bring up. Name your topic. Spin the wheel. I know the conspiracy theory behind it. I know the roots of that problem. I know where it came from. I know how it happened. I
Yeah.
was there. And he's got a story for everything like that. And I always thought that he believed it. He knew it was wrong, but he chose to believe it.
Mikey, I don't know. Would you want to make? I mean, listen, we've had both had radio careers. We haven't made, you know, exceptional money. We've made a decent living out of it. We've had enough to, to live. Um, could have you done that? What
No.
he does, if fate, if say, okay, you can make $800,000 a day doing this.
Actually, I walked out of my last job because of the way they were slanting the news for pro-Trump. I was going to say, if this is the way it's going to be, and you management won't even admit that you're doing it, you lying sons of bitches won't even admit what you're doing. I'm not going to help you with it. I'm not going to be part of your game. I'm not going to be part of this shit. I'm gone. And the rule on that is that front door was always there. It was there every day that I worked at that radio station. And on the last day, I went through it, and I would do that again.
Yeah. See, I couldn't, I couldn't do it either. When I
It
worked in Pittsburgh,
it hurts.
um, there was a situation where they wanted me to do ads for the shale people. The people that drill
Yeah.
into the shale and do a shale is good moment. And I wouldn't do it, and because I didn't. Number one, I didn't believe in it. Number two, these guys were slimy.
Hmm.
I mean, I just wasn't going to do it. It's not something that I thought I should do.
It was an endorsement.
Yeah, it was an endorsement of what they were doing, and I wasn't going to do it. And I went from having a contract offered to me to having no contract offered to me, and said your last day is. I'll never forget that. And you know what? I don't have any regrets about
You
it.
can't go back and say, I've thought it over and I would have sold my soul. Yeah, I would have.
You didn't want to
No.
play ball with the sales guy,
Yeah.
with the sales manager, this little hump that was the sales manager there. You didn't want to play ball with him, and you didn't want to, and it's funny. I mentioned this. I don't know if you followed the story, but there's a dentist in Pittsburgh who was just convicted of killing his wife on a safari.
I read about that yesterday.
Dr. Larry Rudolph.
It's always Dr. Larry. I know him. That's Larry.
That's Dr. Larry. Oh, Larry, take me downtown.
Oh, take me downtown.
Well, Larry was one of our advertisers,
Oh boy.
and they wanted me to do spots for Larry. And I met him, and at the same time, there was another doctor, another dentist, and they wanted, and some other salesman came to me and wanted me to do spots for that dentist. And I went to both, and I went and met Dr. Larry in a bar, in like a strip club place
Oh God.
or something like that. And I went and met the other guy at his office. And I'm married and everything at the time, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to go with Dr. K here.
Yeah.
Dr. K,
He looks like a
of
doctor.
course, Dr. K. Something about Larry. I mean, Larry's going to give me more money. Larry's going to give me implants and everything like that. But there's something about Dr. Larry,
I don't think I want him working in my
the other
mouth.
doctor,
Yeah.
that Dr. K, that, yeah, I think I'm going this
I
way.
think I'll go with this guy.
Yeah. So there was something. There was
So
something.
did
I mean, it's not that I'm not saying I knew what it was going to do. It still shocked me like anything else. But there's just there's people you meet in life that they're not right. They're not stand up guys.
and so did he ever offer you a trip to Africa?
I wouldn't have gone. I could give a freak less. First of all, I hate to say this, I don't really have that much of an interest in going to Africa. I don't have that much of an interest in going to China. Everybody says, "Oh, you got to go to China." Well, now less, but I just don't have. I'd like to go to Europe. I would love to go to South America, but I'd even love to go to, to this side of Russia when everything, I mean, I always thought that that would be a cool trip to go see, that side of the world right there, kind of the cradle of civilization.
My crazy sister Diana is going to go to Krakow in Poland
Well, I mean, that's
soon.
supposed to be a great. Poland
Yeah,
is one of the countries I want to go to.
but Poland right now is hosting 3 million refugees from Ukraine, so their society has changed dramatically. It's
Yeah.
for the better, I think. They did a wonderful thing,
Oh,
but the
yeah.
pressure, but the daily pressure of how it changed Poland is not going away.
I was so impressed with when the war broke out and the refugees were going. I didn't realize that Poland was. Um, I didn't realize that Ukraine was that far advanced as they were, or that you always have these images that you think of from when you're a kid.
Yeah,
Behind the Iron Curtain, and everything looks. All the cars look like Volgas, and or a lot. I mean, it's just the impression you have, and when in reality,
that's your special tomorrow, Russian cars, right?
yeah, yeah, that should be it. Um, so when I saw the people, and I knew about the kindness of the Polish people because I grew up near a lot of Polish people in Greenpoint, it's a big Polish neighborhood. My ex-wife's family is Polish, and so I had Gołąbki at Christmas, like every good Polish person should. A little stuffed cabbage. Oh, her mother used to make like Gołąbki that was off the charts.
I will order my Gołąbki now and a dancing sandwich if you,
And
to
a damn
go.
sandwich. It's funny. We started out with food.
Didn't take long to get the Gołąbki.
So anyway, so yeah, I hope listen. I don't. I just hope that they find a punishment for Alex Jones that fits the pain that he inflicted and his minions inflicted on those poor people.
You know what he's got to look forward to? He did the same thing, not to one set of parents, but to 20 sets of parents. Now, this is one husband and wife who have gotten justice, and the compensatory damages have not yet been awarded, but it's going to be hefty. That
I,
leaves 19 families to go, plus anybody else who wants to sue him.
my friend tweeted me and said, not tweeted me, but messaged me and said that they should cut his tongue out.
Ooh,
And you know what?
I like that
I'm not big on that kind of cruel and unusual punishment. But is it cruel and unusual in this case?
because he's just going to keep using it. If we let him keep that tongue, he's going to keep using it.
How many people would listen to a podcast where the guy was going, "Hey, not a
Uh,
lot."
uh, I think that the audience would be limited, but there'd be people there who saying
But yes,
who guarantee you I understand what he's saying.
yeah, yes, it was a conspiracy.
Yes, it
Oh
was.
Lord! All right, man. Tomorrow on the show, you know what? I don't even really know. I got no idea what I'm doing on the show tomorrow. I've been
8 o'clock. Should we
8
tune in at
o'clock
8 o'clock?
right here on Facebook Live and also on KKNW here in Seattle. We'll be live. We'll have a good show for it. Believe me. Oh, I got a great story. I can't tell you what it is right now, but I have a great story for you. It involves San Francisco.
Write it down. We'll have it on Monday.
It involves San Francisco. We'll have it on drive time tomorrow, and then we'll talk about it again on Monday because we always like to talk about crap that happens in San Francisco.
And San Francisco needs your help because they're 21 and a half games out of reality.
Yeah, the team bus. What else could happen? Could the team bus break down?
I always like Chick Hearn's comments. If the Lakers were having a bad night, he'd say they left their offense on the bus or they left their defense on the bus. Or in some cases, Chick Hearn would say, tonight they've left it all on the bus.
It's all on the bus, man. All right, Mikey.
See you, man.
We'll see you on Monday morning at 10:10 if the Lord's willing the creek don't rise. Have a good weekend, pal.
I'm good. 101
All right. Peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
for everybody. I'll buy
Take care,
around.
everybody. Bye bye.
See you.